This is Office Talk with Annette Stepanian. Well, hello. This is Annette here. Thank you so much for listening. Today's episode is a conversation I'm having with Melissa Jones of Creative Chics. So we're talking all about the value of community and how important it is to build relationships as we're building our businesses. I know for me personally, when I was working in the jewelry business and doing all of that stuff, I completely isolated myself. And because it was so overwhelming for me, learning how to run a business as well as learning the craft of jewelry making and the business of jewelry making, I, for some reason, just completely put myself in a hole and stopped interacting with people, and it wasn't getting me anywhere. So I'm excited to talk to Melissa because she's not only going to share her journey of how she made the transition from the corporate world to what she's doing today, but we're going to talk about ways in which you can reach out and you can connect and create a community for yourself as you're developing your business. So with that said, let's go to the show. Hey everybody, so excited to be welcoming Melissa Jones here onto the podcast today. Hi Melissa.
Thanks for having me.
No, my pleasure. The reason why I wanted to have you on the show is I think your journey to what you're doing today has been pretty, not just interesting, but I could totally relate to it. My journey of leaving the traditional kind of corporate world to pursue the entrepreneurial world. But I also think what you're doing today is fascinating and can really benefit our listeners. Why don't we just dive in? Let us know how you got to doing what you're doing today.
That sounds great. Happy to share. I started my professional career really young. I initially went to college for fashion design, figured out very quickly that it wasn't what I wanted to do. I was making more money at the time working. I didn't have the patience to go to class. I dropped out of college and decided to work full time. So I started working in property management and was quickly promoted into a management role. From there, then transitioned to new home construction. Then my most recent industry was in health insurance. I have a wide background of different industries, but they've all really contributed to the skill set that I have now in order to best serve the Creative Chics community and clients that I work with. I had always known, even at a young age, that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. That came from both my parents are entrepreneurs, then also just selling baked goods to my neighbors, then also selling things that I didn't want to my brothers and sisters for their allowance money.
My brother would totally do that to me. He knew I really loved some of his stuff, and he's such a girl. I would always hand over all my allowance money to him for things that he should have just been sharing in the first place.
I just like the thrill of being creative. How can I be resourceful? If there's something that I want to buy, how can I make money? What can I do? What do I need to do in order to make this happen? Of course, in the family, we just bought stuff back and forth. It's for coins. And so my parents didn't mind, but it teaches you at a young age how to set things up. So I think that really contributed to my entrepreneurial spirit. So I always knew that I wanted to start my own business, and I had dabbled here and there with event planning in my mid-20s, found out that that wasn't really what I wanted to do. So it wasn't until my early 30s when I was pretty well into working for the health insurance company that I decided finally that I wanted to take that leap. The catalyst for me was at the Making Things Happen conference out in Chapel Hill. Then following Laura Casey for years while I was in corporate, reading creative blogs, engaging with people within the creative community. So that really balanced my left and the right side of my brain as far as doing the analytical side and the creative side. When I was there was something that someone had shared that they were struggling with. Immediately identified that a need within the creative market. I knew with my existing skill set, leading and building teams over the past 15 years, various positions, that I could assist with that. There was also something that I could make money at when I started planning what that would look like. So on that plane ride home from Chapel Hill back to Indianapolis at the time, I started making notes. Then it wasn't until, and that was early April of 2014, and I had come to a point in my professional career where I knew I needed to make a jump at that point. I had some money saved up. I also at the time had wanted to move to Chicago, so I decided to do it all. Put in my 2-week notice, leave my corporate job, and also move to Chicago at the same time.
This is the way to do it, right? Just pull off that
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid.
If you're going to go all in, just go.
Yeah.
So I was really fortunate. I have a best friend that lives in Chicago. So I stayed with her the first couple months. When my corporate career found out that I was leaving, they offered me a project which helped carry me for an additional 3 months. So my last official day was December 31st of 2014. And then I incorporated the CEOffice business January of 2015, which is also when I started Creative Chics. It's really like everything lined up at that point. But what I would say about my experience in corporate America, there were a lot of learning lessons. What I would encourage anybody that's in that position, if you're still in the professional world, and it doesn't even have to be in corporate America, it could be like a retail position, or if you're doing admin work for a local business, take notes, learn from others. Really, you're at such a better place because you're able to save money. While you're doing that, you're also able to learn on somebody else's money instead of your own, because as a small business owner, when you have learning lessons, they're a lot more expensive. So take those notes, do the hard work. Don't be afraid to do the nitty gritty. It's really critical. So when one of my transitions from new home construction to the health insurance field, I took a major pay cut, really about $30,000 in salary. It was a change in the market. That was when there was the big real estate bubble, and I knew I needed a job. And so I was willing to do that. I had a negative mindset at the time. I felt that I was better than the position, that I should be paid more, of course. Had a bad attitude. And it was probably about 6 to 8 months in, I had a mindset shift, realized like, okay, if you really are better than this, then you need to prove it and you need to show it. That's when I kicked it into high gear to make sure that I was exceptional and the top performing employee within my department. It paid off because then several months later, when an opportunity for a promotion opened up, I was able to apply for it because I was eligible, because I was the best candidate. Then I was promoted into that position, and that started a whole another journey of learning. I share that because it doesn't matter where you're at or what you're doing. There's always an opportunity to learn because it contributes to your long-term growth.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point because I think in the entrepreneurial world, working that 9 to 5 gets such a bad rap. But to your point, you can take any opportunity, any person you meet, any experience, and turn that into an opportunity for growth and learning. And that just propels you to the next opportunity.
Completely.
I think and I'm so glad that you recognize that you had that negative mindset and you were able to shift it to maximize that opportunity to your benefit. I always say life is just like a whole bunch of dots and you don't see how they connect at that time, but sometimes time and just experience, you're able to step back and really see, okay, I see how all these dots are now connecting and why I had to go through this because it prepared me for X experience. And then this,
100%.
yeah. You left your job, you had this great experience at the Laura Casey conference, come home, you decide I'm going to do my own thing. You move to Chicago, January 2015, and you're starting your own business. What do you do next? I mean, so much of it, I know my experience has been trying to just figure it out and
Right.
trying a lot of different things. January 2015 to where we are today in 2016, what has that journey been like for you?
Well, I will say, and like you just alluded to, there is no handbook for starting a small business. The difference between corporate and small business is corporate, they have everything written out for you. It's very easy, air quotes, to excel because the path is laid out for you. You know what you have to do. You know when you have to do it. As long as you play your cards right and work really hard, you have a greater opportunity of moving forward. Small business, it's completely different because everything is dependent upon you and you're constantly learning. There's a lot of variables. One of the things that I would say early on is make sure that you set a strong foundation. Make sure that you set up all of your finances. I would do that even before you leave your corporate job, is making sure that you set up your structure, whether you're an LLC, whether you're a sole proprietor, whether you're incorporated, whatever that looks like for your business. Do that while you're working for somebody else. Lay that foundation because it makes it so much easier when you make that transition. Also set up your accounting, whether you use QuickBooks or FreshBooks, whatever program works best for you and what you anticipate your business to be. Make sure that you set yourself up on the right foot. Don't get caught up a lot of branding, the pretty stuff at first, because that's going to take a lot of money. And really that first year, you're going to evolve so much, not only as a businesswoman, but also as a business, because as you get feedback from clients that you're working with, whether you're selling a product or whether you're providing a service, it's going to evolve. Don't want to waste money. A lot of that money that you would be bringing in your first year, you need to invest it directly right back into the business. Don't spend it on yourself or anything frivolous. Contribute it towards making things better sales. One of the things that I learned along the way, and Amber Housley had shared this, is how she prioritizes her day. It's what is going to bring in income today. So that's really how I set my days up as far as, is this top priority as far as growing the business, or is this just fun stuff and easy stuff for me to do?
I love that. I think there's an exercise, I forget who does it, but it's basically you take your day, take note of all the different tasks that you spend time on, and you put a dollar value on it. You then make a list of what you want to be making, and then you look at where you're spending your time and what kind of value that's bringing in terms of dollars. Is it, and then you look at what you want to be making, and you're like, how close am I to that? It's like you got your dollar activities, your $10 activities, your $50 activities, your $100, whatever, and to structure your day. And that's what I do too. Every morning, I write down the 3 highest value activities that need to get done. Value could be in terms of what brings money or what is going back to building that my business, the core of what needs to get done in my business. I love that because I know when I first started, I was just doing stuff and doing busy work just to feel like I was doing something important. It really wasn't. Really
I
good advice.
thank you. It's difficult. I think also because when you're working for yourself, you don't have that discipline or that structure that you typically have in a corporate environment, because you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. Technically, you don't have to report to anybody. You do in the sense of you have clients, do in the sense that you have things that you have to pay. But outside of that, there's so much flexibility that sometimes you don't have the mental discipline, that it can be really challenging to grow. In regards to then how I started, evolved, Creative Chics was really started because I knew coming into a brand new city, starting a brand new field, that I wanted peers that had similar mindset. My best friend's still in pharmaceutical sales, and it's completely different field than what's in the creative entrepreneur world. So that's what I was looking for. So I decided to host an event in January of 2015. And I was very fortunate that women who didn't know me came. We had a great time. It organically grew from there. I love those women. There was 18 of them that showed up that first day. I know all of them, still engaged with a majority of them. I would say probably about 75% of them. They continue to be a part of the Creative Chics community today. Extremely grateful for them, but organically grew from there. We then tested in the Kansas City market in April of 2015. Then, as I alluded to earlier, your business evolves and you figure things out along the way. I've decided to make Creative Chics my main business focus. I love that because you're just more productive in your efforts, whether it's your marketing, whether it's your services that you provide, it's the programs that you develop, different things of that. I think that's another thing to be said, especially in your first year of business. It's a lot of it, and I don't like this term, but people are throwing spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks, or they're offering 10 different services instead of one. And I think when you spread yourself so thin, you really have no clue what you can do really well, and neither does your client. So it's really difficult for you to make money because you're not focusing on making one thing better. Instead, you're doing a lot of things at 50%.
It's an evolution, right? Because I think as the business owner, you're trying to figure out what you like to do, what you're good at. And so
Right,
that requires you to throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. But
right.
there definitely, to your point, has to be a time where you feel comfortable editing out. And I think generally we tend to feel uncomfortable about editing down, being really niche, being really focused, being singular in things that we do. There's some great books that I've read about just this. The Pumpkin Plan is one, and it just talks about that. You just become really, really good at growing one big, large pumpkin, become known for that. Obviously, it's an analogy, but I've seen it in my business. The moment I niche down, the moment I focus maybe on an industry, it just makes sense. It's and like to your point, makes it easier to market. It makes it easier when you're drafting emails and your communications because you know who you're talking to.
That
So
and your clients know what you are standing for. I think that's the other thing is a lot of times when you do too many things, they don't know what you're really good at. And so you don't attract your ideal clients because they're unsure of what you really do.
it reminds me of the Cheesecake Factory. Like when you go, I don't know if you have them
Yeah.
out there,
Hmm.
but the Cheesecake Factory, like their menus, they're so big and they have so many different things. Like you can get Italian, you can get all these different flavors, which maybe there's a market for that. And it's great when you can go to a restaurant and everybody's palates can be appeased, but it's a little overwhelming. You're like, do I want pasta or do I want a burger? Do I want,
Right.
and so I think if you take that and you say, okay, I'm going to be an Italian restaurant and I'm going to focus and I'm going to serve the best pasta in the neighborhood, it's easier for you. You can achieve economies of scale in terms of the ingredients you're buying. Again, an analogy, right? You can,
Right.
in the systems that you set up and the services that you provide. There's a period where you got to be the Cheesecake Factory, and then there's a time where you got to be that local bistro around the corner that serves top-notch French food.
And I think that's all part of the refining process. Once you get through that first year and like get to year two where you have a better sense of that, you really hone in on that. I think the other thing, just like with any major companies, when they do product development, you have to give something time. And a lot of things are in product development for years before it actually comes out to the public because they want to test it, they want to refine it, they want to make it better. And I think we don't give ourselves enough time to do that before we just throw in the towel.
Good one. I want to go back to when you decided to host that first Creative Chicks get together.
Mhm.
I think that's one mistake that I made when I first made that entrepreneurial leap is I just completely isolated myself because my friends were all lawyers. They all were in kind of, I didn't have that world of, or that circle of entrepreneurial friends. And that's one thing I wish I had done differently. So I love that you didn't just wait to find those people, you just kind of created it. Can you talk about the value of creating community in terms of building a business?
Business is all about relationships. It's people buy from those that they respect and trust. So, one, it's really important the relationship aspect and the community aspect from getting clients, but also who your extended team is, whether it's vendors, it's contractors, whatever the case may be. And that's really where community comes in because community is about finding people that you respect and trust, people that you can surround yourself with, that you can learn from, that will push you to be better, that will encourage and support you when it's really tough. Small business, being an entrepreneur is really tough. It takes a lot of grit, a lot of emotional maturity. When you surround yourself with people, that's what helps you survive and thrive and grow. I would say that I've been really fortunate to have great mentors and friends along the way. Laura Casey, Heather Crabtree, Rhiannon Boss, that have been there to help with leading the way, then sharing information back or just leading by example. And that parlays into Creative Chicks because even though we have a national platform, our goal is about supporting the local community and the women there because we realize how important personal relationships are. And I think to your point, like you said, when you took the leap, it's those in-person relationships that can really help you. We can meet so many people online. That's really how I've met a ton of people, but important that we take those offline because that's where the real work and the real vulnerability and authenticity then can transpire because you get to know people really for who they are because we can all project something online and you can get a good feel for people, but it's not the same as having those in-person relationships. That's what was important to me about Creative Chicks is having those in-person relationships, the person that you can go and grab coffee with, that person that you can co-work during the day with, especially if you are used to working at home by yourself. If you're looking to create community, I would say look and see what's missing your existing circle, whether you're a small town, whether you're in a large city, and then know what your differentiating skills are, like what you bring to the table. Then how can you best serve these women or these colleagues? Because it's all about give and take. Any relationship, you can't be that person that's always asking and taking. It's about giving much more than anything else.
probably just as simple as just showing up. I think
Yes.
we've become so comfortable, i.e. lazy, hiding behind our computer screens or cell phones. And we've talked about this before. I'm from the era, the pre-social media, pre-email generation. There's something so fascinating to me about social media that we can connect and we can broaden our horizons and meet all these people that we otherwise wouldn't.
Right.
But there's also something very isolating and it just doesn't feel authentic. I think there's no substitute for that face to face, that one on one connection, even if it's just FaceTiming or getting on a Skype call and seeing that person face to face. Sometimes it's just about making that deliberate effort to just show up. And
Right.
maybe you connect with somebody on social media and say, hey, let's chat for 15 minutes. Just want to talk to you. Let's do a FaceTime, or let's meet for coffee if you're in the local area. It takes work. Like you said, it's like any other relationship. It's a give and take. It takes effort. But I do believe it's something that I would like to see more and more. And it's something that I invite more into my business because I feel the disconnect. I feel the need. That's
Because
probably
we're
for more than
humans.
any reason.
We're meant to connect.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
to
So,
have that actual physical relationship where you can see that person and engage with them, see their expressions, their body language, like how they present themselves, like how you engage together. It's so crucial. And I get it, the social media part, because that's how I've met so many people. So I don't want to take that away. I love social media. And I think it's an excellent stepping stone, especially if you have a little bit of an introvert personality. I know I do, that you can sort of like tiptoe in people and get a feel for them. But again, you have to take it offline because then that's where the depth is. Also, too, I think it's so easy, like if we stay behind our computer screens where we can just disappear, but we don't have to do the hard stuff. Like if we get in a disagreement, then we can be passive aggressive about it as far as venting about it in a status, not addressing it head on. But you actually have a physical relationship with like a friendship, then you have to address that hard stuff. Encourages both of you to grow. So then you have a better, more fulfilling friendship. I think that's what's so important is those real fulfilling friendships, because those are the people that you can trust when you have a problem in your business or you have a personal problem and you can go to for advice because you know that they're really going to be there for you and give you valid feedback.
it's about quality, right?
Correct.
So you just got to have a few of those people that you could reach out to. So how can people, let's say there isn't a Creative Chicks meetup or get together in their community, what are some ways that people can create communities offline to help support them both in terms of business and also just personally?
I would suggest, again, because social media and offline go hand in hand in this day and age, and
Yeah.
really social media makes it so much easier to connect. If you're in any online business group, ask who lives in the area. That's usually fine within most Facebook group protocol to figure out who's nearby. Then see if they just want to meet up for coffee. From there, just take the relationship offline. That's the easiest way to do it. And I know that there's several online Facebook groups where they also, in addition, have member directories. So it's easy for you to find that. And you don't even have to post the question, just look in the directory and filter accordingly. But that's the first thing that I would suggest is going to be the easiest low entry level for you to meet other creatives in your field. But it's finding those groups online. They're everywhere. Creative Chicks has a national platform, even though we're in 9 cities across the country, we're still continuing to expand. If you see yourself as a leader, we'd be happy to chat and see if you want to bring Creative Chicks to your community. There's also the Making Things Happen community. They have online. You have your own community online. I know Heather Crabtree has the Savvy Business Owners. So there's a lot of online Facebook groups that have quality content as far as sharing business information, but also building relationships.
What I do is like in my Facebook group, I feel like it's so hard to connect people in a status and whatnot. And so
Right,
what I've done is I've opened up my calendar and I've told people, hey, let's schedule a 20-minute call. I just want to talk to you. Just want to
right.
get to know what you're doing, how I can be of help to you, how I can help connect you with maybe other people I know. Sometimes you just got to put in the time and you
I
got to
agree.
put in, it's just, yeah, it's not about let me buy these Instagram followers. It's about building that relationship one person at a time.
Funny anecdotes just for everyone else that is listening. And I met through Savvy Business Owners a long time ago, probably over maybe a year ago. We were just connected again recently through Marie Bear was at the first Creative Chics event, January of 2015. Adore her. And she does what you're just talking about, those coffee dates, collabor dates. So I think the two of you talked because she's the one that reintroduced us.
Yeah, that's true. Because remember, because when she introduced us, at first I was like, the name didn't ring a bell because I just knew your handle, your social media
Right.
handle. And
Of
then,
course, that's how we all do.
and that's another thing. You don't really know people like because they have their business name as their social media name. So, and then when the email came through on Google, for some reason your picture popped up on the side. I don't know, Google and it's magic. And I was like, oh, I know her. Like I've definitely connected with her Facebook groups and on social media. So it was just funny that you don't even realize how small the community can be in the world
Anyway,
is. Sometimes it just pops up in your inbox. Like, yep, I know her. With that said, I like to end these interviews just, I think so much about what we're trying to do is to try and understand, like to kind of come up with rules or formulas in our heads or just principles that we could live our lives by. I always like to ask every guest, this I know for sure. So just fill in the blank. What is it something that you know for sure after having gone through this whole journey?
I know that inherently everyone is good. Different circumstances may cause us to react different ways in different situations, but it's up to each of us to be compassionate and respectful to each other. I know that as long as we stay true to being the best version of ourselves, that we will continue to shine bright.
I absolutely love that. It's such a wonderful way of seeing the world. If you know that everybody comes from a place of goodness and maybe sometimes it doesn't, the execution of it doesn't, or the presentation of it doesn't seem good. But I think I love that most people are coming or everyone's coming from a place of good. If you could just be compassionate towards people, I think the world would be a much better place. That's
Yes,
for sure. Thank you, Melissa, for taking the time. I hope to connect with you soon.
sounds great. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
So there you go. I hope the show has inspired you to make an effort to reach out to people on a regular basis and cultivate that community for yourself. So I want you to make that commitment, then head on over to Instagram and find me on there at Annette Stepanian and tell me what you're going to do in order to cultivate that community going forward. If you want to learn more about Melissa and the Creative Chics community, then head on over to AnnetteStepanian.com/podcast. And there you'll get all the juicy details on how you can connect with Melissa and her Creative Chics. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I can't wait to talk to you later.